There is no right way or wrong way to sell when it comes to style and our own personal brand of communication. People are buying us. So that's really what we need to be focusing on is how to make sure our authentic selves are shining through in service to our clients. And then, of course, balancing the hard skills and the soft skills as we go through our pitches, as we go through our relationships and our business activities. You're listening to Prospecting on Purpose, where we discuss all things prospecting, sales, business, and mindset. I'm your host, Sara Murray, a sales champion who's here to show you that you can be a shark in business and still lead with intentionality and authenticity. Tune in each week as we dive into methods to connect with clients, communicate with confidence, and close the deal. Hello, and welcome to Prospecting on Purpose. I am recording from week 4 in New York City. I've been on a very long business trip. I can share one packing tip. I packed all of my exercise bands, the shoulder bands and little leg ankle bands, and I packed them with great intention and a plan to use them, and I have not used them. So, pro tip for a long trip, probably won't use your exercise bands. Also, I'm very bored of wearing the same clothes for this long, so variety is the spice of life, and I really miss my clothes, but that's okay. New York has been fabulous for my spirit and my business. I've been meeting in person with clients, I've been presenting proposals to new prospects, I've been connecting with industry colleagues that I haven't seen in years, I've been networking my little butt off, and there has been a conference in New York City every single week, which is why I'm here, and it's been a great opportunity to prospect for new business, but I'm also learning a lot, and I'm loving the people that I'm meeting. May and June in New York City is the season for trade shows, and it's been great, and really, there's just nothing like in-person connections. You get so much more done. Opportunities present themselves that wouldn't if you weren't in the room standing in front of this potential person. So it's been a really great trip. One of the trade shows I attended was called LightFair. It's a global architectural and commercial lighting event, and they had something on the conference agenda that I had never seen before, and it looked really interesting. It was a session titled Lighting Sales Stars, and it was a Shark Tank style sales pitch competition. And whoever thought of the idea, kudos to you, because it was such a clever, fun idea. It was really well executed. I really enjoyed it, and I was inspired by some of the approaches that the competitors took, but I was also surprised by some of the judges' feedback. So it was a really interesting event, and I wanted to do an episode about it because I think this group will find it interesting as well. I'll give an overview of the sales competition and how they structured it. Then I'll talk about some of the individual approaches that the sellers took, and then I'll recap all of the judges' feedback at the end. To set the stage for us, literally, there was an MC with a podium, and then on stage there was a panel of 5 judges. The judges were all members of the associations that own the show. So you may or may not be aware, but most trade shows have associations and organizations behind it that will produce the show. This particular show is owned by the Illuminating Engineering Society, IES, another association called the International Association of Lighting Designers, IALD, and then International Market Centers, IMC, owns the show. So the panel was a mix of lighting designers and engineers. So the panel of judges, these 5 judges, were a mix of lighting designers and electrical engineers, professional design consultants that have had a long tenure in their careers, both creating lighting designs, but of course collaborating with sales professionals, including, of course, being sold to and being presented new product. So very well established panel of judges. And then there were 9 contestants that entered the competition, and they each had 3 minutes to deliver their pitch of a light fixture. I believe they were given a couple of weeks to prepare, and they were assigned 1 of 2 products to sell. The first 5 went up and sold a recessed downlight, which is essentially a light fixture that sits flush with the ceiling or the wall, so it's a really sleek look. You don't really see the fixture, and then that light source will glow from the opening. The other group had to present an area light, so an exterior light fixture for lighting parking lots and site lighting, etc. So 2 different products that they were pitching. Each contestant had to pitch one of those 2 products, and they were given a specification sheet. So they had information about the product, but that was it. No real manufacturer information, just more of a generic product that they had to go sell to this panel of judges. The criteria for the judging panel was accuracy, attention to detail, concise, confident, clear, creative, and technical overview and knowledge of the product. The structure was that the salesperson or the contestant, I'm going to use those words interchangeably, they had 3 minutes to pitch the product, and then they would sit on stage and the judges would give immediate feedback what they liked and didn't like about the pitch. Just a couple of quick notes before I get into some of the specifics. 3 minutes is not a long time, and in a real sales environment, you have the opportunity to ask your clients questions. You have the ability to build rapport. You understand the specific project details or what they're looking for and what they're selling to. So it's a little bit unrealistic from a real sales environment. And then, of course, pressure and the time constraints definitely put some limitations. All of the feedback and the pitches have to be taken with a little grain of salt. And then, of course, I don't really know how they could have done this differently, but the person who went first did a great job. But he went first, so you don't understand the dynamics. You don't know what to expect. You don't know what the feedback's going to be. Whereas the person who went last had the added benefit of hearing all of the feedback from the 8 other contestants ahead of him. He did a great job. I do think it was a little bit of an unfair advantage, but what are you going to do? It's a live event at a show. Spoiler alert, the man who went last won. Just as a quick blanket statement too, I thought every contestant did excellent. It's probably safe for us to assume that if they're willingly entering a competition to put themselves on stage and prove their sales skills in front of a panel of judges, in front of an audience of their peers that do the same thing, there's a certain baseline of confidence in your selling ability, but it was still pretty nerve-wracking. The bravery and the guts that it took to get on stage and do that was really impressive. One of the most interesting things to me about watching 9 different 3-minute pitches back to back for a couple of hours was how each individual structured their 3-minute pitch. I'm not going to go through all 9 of them. I'm going to recap 5. First contestant, going first. That's gotta be tough, but he did a great job. He was a man, he was very friendly. One of the big takeaways that I noticed was the confidence in his body language and his smile and his eye contact and how he was interacting with the judges, who of course were the prospective clients. From a body language standpoint, he started off really confident, really powerful. And then when he got into his pitch was very, very literal. It was a literal 3-minute pitch. What he did that was interesting is that in the first minute of his time, he discussed his program features. And then the second 2 minutes, he discussed his product features. Quick little sidebar, I want to give an example of program features as opposed to product features. When we think of program features, a good analogy would be to think of Starbucks. In Starbucks' business model, their core product is coffee, and you could get the coffee a million different ways, different milks, different flavors, different size options, and so on. In this example, that would be the product specifics, right? Or the specifications. The program benefits of Starbucks is what we get as a consumer interacting with that product. The app is a great example of this. We can order ahead on our mobile so that the coffee's ready for pickup. We can pay for our coffee within the app. We can load gift cards on it. We can add funds to it so that we can pay in the app. We don't have to take out our credit card. After so many purchases, we can redeem rewards and get free coffees, free offers. That's what I mean when I say program benefits. It's a helpful, easy example to kind of split those two different things. So this seller started with his program features. He's talking about things like his warranty, his rebates, the quality of the product, which building codes the product solved. And then after he did that high-level overview of his program features, he used an interesting script to transition to product features. He told his clients that he wanted to check all of their boxes and give them the warm fuzzies that they were covered with their program benefits before getting into the product specifics. And then he went into product features, and he's obviously very technical. He knew the product backward and forward. He didn't need notes. He did a pretty good pitch in terms of demonstrating his product knowledge. I will say it was a very, very long list of product features. It almost felt as he was just going through the whole spec sheet and literally hitting every piece. And if you listen to this show, you know I'm not a fan of listing product features, even though they're important for both the seller to know and the client to understand. In 3 minutes, it's impossible to remember any of those details that he shared. Listing every bell and whistle that the product offers goes in one ear and out the other. So not a lot of storytelling. Tough to make it memorable. The biggest takeaway from his pitch was his energy, his friendliness, his confidence, and his use of humor. Those softer skills really created a sense of trust and authority, even if the clients didn't necessarily remember the product features that he rolled out. From a confidence standpoint and an approachability standpoint, he did excellent. If I'm a client and I can't remember product features, I know I could call this guy and I'm sure he'd answer his phone and give proper, accurate technical information. That was contestant 1. The judges' feedback was pretty straightforward. You knew your technical stuff, you were friendly. They didn't really have anything to critique him on. The next contestant was a woman, and she got on stage right after the first gentleman and said something along the lines of, "Oh, that's a tough act to follow. I'm not as technical as so-and-so." And it was such a bummer because it totally set the wrong vibe for her pitch. And I totally get why she did it. It's something I probably have done in the past too. We're making self-deprecating comments to try to find a connection point or to use humor. And it was unfortunate because she set herself up right out the gate from a position of just not having that confidence that she really needed because her pitch was really great. I loved her pitch. So she did hit her groove, and she did 3 things that were really clever with her 3 minutes. She quickly got their attention by asking questions. Then she went through a high-level benefits, and then she talked about an application and then kind of wove in the features through her storytelling. When she starts asking questions to the judging panel, to the clients, she was clearly speaking to their pain points. Have you ever struggled with a design that was in conflict with existing site conditions? And then throughout the pitch, she was giving examples of where this light fixture could be used and how. This product is great for an application in a kitchen, and the light can be adjusted to highlight the artwork or the interior design choices in the space. And then as she's giving more context to where the product could be used, through her storytelling, this is where she wove in the product benefits, listing color options. It's a fit for new and existing construction. She did the product benefits through the application description. It was very well done, but of course, the first piece of feedback from the judges that apologizing for not being technical weakened her credibility. They loved the questions at the beginning because it really did force them to pay attention, and she aligned herself with her client and put them in their shoes, which was great. The next contestant number 3, he had timed his 3 minutes perfectly, like right down to the second. He was very well dressed. He was confident but relaxed and pretty casual in his demeanor. It sort of reminded me a little bit of like a stand-up comedian with his delivery and how he was interacting with the judges. And he gave a sports analogy as a big part of his pitch. He compared a successful lighting product to Scottie Pippen from the 1990s Chicago Bulls lineup. He's not the center stage, he's not the showman on the court, but he's crucial to the execution of the project. So the centerpiece is Michael Jordan. The centerpiece, the Michael Jordan of the project, is the furniture and the art, and then the lighting is the Scottie Pippen, really highlighting those centerpieces. I loved it. I thought it was pretty fun. It did somewhat impact him because he didn't focus on product features at all, and he didn't really close the sale or ask for the business, but it was a fun analogy. However, the judges definitely had mixed reviews on the sports analogy. And their feedback was that sports analogies don't always resonate because you don't know if your audience, your clients, are into sports. I mean, personally, I thought it was a little unnecessarily critical, but I get their point. Maybe a different way he could weave in this example is to ask the group if they're sports fans or if they're familiar with Michael Jordan. Who's not familiar with Michael Jordan? But if you get a yes, then you can go into the analogy. If you get a no, well, you better have a backup plan ready to course correct. I found it entertaining. I enjoyed it, so sharing it here. The next contestant I'll share, he did a really nice job with his 3 minutes. He basically just made up a project and who his clients were, and then he just told them. And it worked really, really well. So at the beginning of his pitch, he basically gave himself an anchor point to center the conversation around. In his fake example, he was selling to lighting designers, and they were all designing a new museum project. Once we had that context, the pitch was very tailored and specific, which is what it would be in a real-life meeting. He used some good one-liners. He talked about the fact that this is a museum project, the priceless pieces of artwork that we're going to be highlighting. It's not 1989 with old track lighting, it's 2023, and museum visitors are not going to come see the lighting product, they're coming to see the art. It was very impactful. The judges liked that a lot. The reference resonated with them in a way that Scottie Pippen fell a little bit flat. And then additionally, one other thing he did that I thought was great is he showed a lot of gratitude for their time and for the opportunity to partner together on the project, which was very effective. The last seller, the guy who won, he jumped right in with the hard sell. And it worked, obviously, because he won. He did have the benefit of hearing everyone else's feedback throughout the 2 hours, but I do feel pretty confident that his approach would have been the same had he gone first. With the 3 minutes, he did a good job of strategically using that 3 minutes to do a hard sell. When he started his pitch, he started off with a line that says, "I'm going to convince you, no, tell you why you need this product." And honestly, I don't think he even realized if it was a mistake or not, or if it was intentional or not. Whether it was or wasn't, the judges loved it because it forced them to pay attention. And then he started out with similar program benefits. Instead of comparing his product to the competitor's product, he actually set himself up, the salesperson, as the differentiator. One of the other hard lines he used is, "I'm not your typical lighting sales guy who takes a purchase order. I'm going to be with you the whole time." He did say he'd provide a deliverable of a layout of their project so that they could understand how it would be lit with his lighting product. And then he told the clients, "My goal is to make you look good so you keep coming back to me." I appreciate that he aligned himself with the client, right? It's always in our best interest to make our client's business successful. But I also think it was great that he was really direct. Salespeople are necessary in moving the business forward, and usually the other person knows this is a buyer-seller exchange, but let's do it in a way where we're aligned and we're working on the same project together, and that's that more of a consultative approach as opposed to, "Here's my price, please issue me an order." Sometimes being direct is the right path, and in this case it was, because they were ready to give the guy an order in 3 minutes. Everyone did a great job. They had the winner on stage with a trophy, and they were taking a group picture, and they had a confetti cannon. And not unlike the contestants, it's hard to open, you had to unwrap this confetti cannon. And one of the judges opened it upside down, and it was so freaking funny. It really was so funny. He opened it upside down. The confetti whacked him in the leg, went all over the ground instead of up in the air. Everyone died laughing. It was pretty hysterical. So I don't think I would have thought about that either. So if we're ever in a situation where we need to use a confetti cannon, there is a correct way to point it so that the confetti goes up. It was quite funny. Just some overall themes of some of the critical feedback that we heard throughout the 9 different contestants. The judges really did not like descriptive words like indispensable or amazing. Anytime somebody threw those into their pitch, it was always a point of feedback. They were saying it's a red flag. What makes this so amazing? Who are you to call this amazing? I thought that was an interesting takeaway. I'm pretty sure I use the word amazing often, so just a little teachable moment for us all. They also didn't care for certain qualifiers. One of the contestants was saying, "I think da 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 da." Nope, you don't need to think, That was one piece. Another qualifier was the product ships pretty quickly. Well, what does quickly mean? Remove the word quickly. You could just say the product ships quickly. Product ships in 3 days. Be more specific. So that was an interesting note. One of the contestants got a comment that gesturing with his hands was distracting. I didn't notice it, but I also think I am someone who gestures a lot too. I picked up a really, really weird habit during the pandemic. You're on calls, you're on mute because you're on mute. It's a team call. I would find myself doing a thumbs up, right up next to my head, to fit the thumb in the screen. And I've noticed I've been doing more gesturing near my face, and I think it's just 2 years of being on Zoom calls and interacting with people on mute with your hands. That's one of my personal takeaways. I'm going to be a little bit more conscious of my gesturing. And then anyone who used notes or was referencing notes got a little ding. And everyone acknowledged it's not totally fair because it's not their product, but it was just noteworthy. Being prepared, not referencing notes really did differentiate the top performers. And then some of the positive strategies that the judges really liked, any type of context was helpful. So if some of the sellers did a project-specific or application-specific examples, they were really well received. Context was really great. From a physical standpoint, moving closer to the group, making eye contact, smiling, and friendliness, that was obviously across the board well received. Humor was a really great strategy. It helps people pay attention, helps connect. So if you can find ways to weave in humor, that was really well received too. One of the products was pretty robust. It could do a lot of different things in a pretty simple product. And so one of the sellers used the example Swiss Army knife, and another seller used the example jack of all trades. And both of those were really well received by the judges. It was easy to understand. They said everyone knows what a Swiss Army knife is. So if your product has a lot of benefits and features within itself, maybe start using some of those words. Any chance we can align ourselves as the seller with the client and making sure that we're a partner with them through the project, that was, of course, a really important strategy. Everyone did that quite well. Another thing that is really important was managing your time with intentionality. One contestant literally started her pitch with, "Thank you for this opportunity. I know our time is limited, so I'm going to focus on the most important areas." And she said it right up front. That's a really strategic thing you can do in any presentation. If somebody says, "Hey, I can give you 15 minutes, don't be afraid to just say, "I understand we have 15 minutes. Honestly, I've been in situations where I've set a timer and just say, "I'm going to hold myself accountable to your time. I appreciate your time." Da, 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 da. You have a plan, you have an intention of where you need to end at the end of that time slot. So managing time with intentionality is important, of course. And then the last takeaway is to not be afraid to be direct. It's okay. It was a sales competition. You could be direct in asking for the sale. So that was interesting. It was a little bit more of the harder skills. And so to wrap up some final thoughts here, at the end of the day, there is no right way or wrong way to sell when it comes to style and our own personal brand of communication. Everyone has their own unique style, and that's what sets us apart from our competitors is who we are, because people are buying us. So that's really what we need to be focusing on, is how to make sure our authentic selves are shining through in service to our clients. And then, of course, balancing the hard skills and the soft skills as we go through our pitches, as we go through our relationships and our business activities. I thought it was a really fun idea. I hope you enjoyed the recap of it. And if we want to continue to practice, I have an exciting announcement, more of a save the day, but I have an upcoming free virtual event that will be on Friday, July 14th at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. This event's going to be centered around mindset, confidence, building your own personal brand. We're going to get into some networking and relationship building strategies and really just adding some tools to your tool belt for 2023 and beyond. And then additionally, I'm going to be hosting a 3-day live virtual event the last week of July. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, July 25th, 26th, 27th. It'll be around 90 minutes each day, starting at 9 a.m. Pacific time. This is going to serve as a mid-year check-in to make sure that if we're crushing it this year, we keep our foot on the gas. And then if we're not on track to meet our goals or we need some additional help or support or strategies, this is going to be a really nice boost. It should be really, really fun. I will share more details on that soon. If you want to stay up to date and be notified via email, you can go to connect.saramurray.com. I will include it in the show notes as well. But in the meantime, save the date. So Friday, July 14th, 9 a.m. Pacific time. That's our free Prospecting on Purpose event. It'll be 60 minutes. And then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, July 25th, 26th, 27th, we're going to do more of a deep dive. So stay tuned for more details. It will be so fun to hang out in person. So I hope that everyone can join who is interested. I'll have more details on it in next week's episode. But for today, that wraps up this week's episode. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you next week. Thank you so much for listening to the Prospecting on Purpose podcast. If you loved what you heard today, subscribe to the podcast and please rate and leave a review. For more info on me, or if you'd like to work together, feel free to go to my website, saramurray.com. On social media, I'm usually hanging out at Sara Murray Sales. Thanks again for joining me, and I'll see you next time.